I call the Honourable Member Rahui Katani.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Tēnā koe. I'm very pleased to stand to speak on this Electoral Administration Amendment Bill number 2, which has the aim of consolidating, amending the Electoral Act 1993 to implement further reforms of electoral reform, amendments arising from the Government's response to the report from the Justice and Electoral Committee on its inquiry into the 2008 general election, and amendments relating to online enrolment. And I think that it's very important that we have this legislation, that we have a very robust and transparent electoral system. Mr Speaker, last year I was one of the members of the delegation from New Zealand that went to the Solomon Islands as official observers of the Solomon Islands elections. And while we were there, some of the things that we observed were the fact that the enrolments there were not very clear, they were not very transparent. In fact, it was very obvious that many people were enrolled several times over, and in fact many people who were no longer living were enrolled several times over. There was very real problems with the electoral system there, and it meant that when it came to time for voting, the people there weren't in a position to be able to actually use their democratic right to vote very fairly. We observed instances where people actually were living in one area and were voting in another area because they preferred to vote in their home villages rather than in the area where they were working. And so they were filling up the boats going home to their home villages. There were horrific photos actually of people in these rust buckets sitting crammed onto the boats to go home. There were instances of candidates picking up and taking, actually paying for people to go home to vote for them. And it was altogether a real problem for the people of the Solomon Islands, and particularly for the government of the Solomon Islands, to be able to put in place a system that actually was fair to all people. Now, here in New Zealand, we have a system that we can rightly be very proud of, but we still need to keep working on it to make sure that it is improved all of the time. And one of the things that we need to work on and make sure is improved is actually the ability of people to vote. Because we heard earlier about the fact that people who are leaving Christchurch and moving to other areas may not actually realise that they have the ability, they have the right to still vote in Christchurch. And so we need to be getting that information out to them. There is also the fact that Māori are the lowest people who engage in the electoral system. We need to be getting the information out to Māori to encourage them not only to enrol but also to vote. And so I think that this ability for tūhono to be able to get this information on Māori and voters and get it to their iwi is going to be helpful, because I think that if people are voting through their iwi structures, they will get into the habit of realise that they can have a say in the system, that one voice is very powerful, because once you start putting all of those voices together, you actually can vote in the people who will make a change and will make a difference in their lives. So, Mr Speaker, I'm very pleased on behalf of the Māori Party to support this bill, and I commend it to the House.